Wow, that was something to look forward to, wasn't it? Hey guys, it's Daniel here with my thoughts of The Walking Dead Season 11 again. Now, if you remember, well, obviously you have to remember, in the last two videos I talked about Episode 4 and Episode 5. And I've already told you that I think they're pretty good episodes, but my issue is that they just don't live up to the last two episodes that came before them, Episode 2 and Episode 3. And I think it's because, those two episodes have a lot going on, and they had very good character development and strong morals and dangers for them to face. I think that's what made those episodes so interesting. So, fingers crossed that episode 6 is going to have the same ones as well. My god. Wow. This episode is a huge improvement. It took me back to why I loved those episodes of The Walking Dead Season 11 to begin with. So, this episode just blew my mind. So, of course, judging by my expressions, there's going to be a ton of spoilers in this episode, because this episode dealt with so many things that I loved seeing the show tackle. So, let's talk about this episode of The Walking Dead. So, what happens in this episode? Well, as I mentioned last week, and as I knew it was following this character, it follows Connie. Yes, Connie is out of the caves and was assisted by a man named Virgil, who Michonne met in Season 10. So basically they are camping around and trying to survive the apocalypse together. But the first thing that happens is that they're running from some danger. So yeah, you're like, so not going to show us them camping, they're just going to show us getting straight into the storyline. Okay, this is off to a nutty start. So basically, they're like being chased by walkers, and they're trying to find a place to hide from them. So they go to this like giant mansion house place that seems very isolated. There are no one here, as Virgil goes around the house looking for. And basically, Virgil is trying to understand Connie because he's not very good at sign language, so he has to try his best to show his hand language and write on notes as fast as he can to convince Connie about what he's saying. And Connie is obviously trying to do the same to him. He's trying to make sign language that he can understand so that he can understand what she's trying to say. And I have to say, I liked the relationship between these two. They seem like they're getting along very well, and I think Connie has learned a few more secrets about Virgil. It's like she knows that Michonne went with him, but basically, Connie's just going around the house, trying to find if there are more people there and see what else is in the house. And one of the best things I love from this episode is their attention to detail. Mainly in the scenes where there is no sound or dialogue, but Connie is just going around the house looking through, but there's no sound at all when she opens a door or takes out an object or closes the door or looks in the bathroom. There is no sound in that scene, and I think that's perfect attention to detail, because since Connie can't hear stuff, we're basically hearing what she cannot hear at the moment, and that's a perfect attention to detail as to build up a scare that we are trying to get. Because honestly, I think this episode is more of going in lines of the horror aspects, and I mean that in the best way, because The Walking Dead is supposed to be a horror, but it's not exactly a horror. It's just a zombie apocalypse with people trying to survive. But this episode goes into the more versions of the horror roots. We have new monsters in this episode that really shocks me, because Connie goes into a bathroom, looks through a cupboard, and looks through a little hole that's in the cupboard, and you're just waiting, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? Oh my goodness, what's gonna happen next? Oh my god, is something gonna come out? When is that string going to snap? And when it finally does snap, wow, because we see an eye pop out in that hole as Connie runs away in shock to Virgil and writes a huge note on a painting saying, "Not alone." That is perfect horror at its best. That's how you do horror, because you just use attention to detail to get the feeling about what a character is feeling, and that will build up to a scare. I think it's something like the Quiet Place movies do, which I plan to make a video about A Quiet Place Part 2 very soon. I'm telling you, I'm trying. And Connie come across these new monsters, and I think these monsters are meant to be called the Ferals, because basically they were like humans who have been stuck in this house and have been like going, as the title implied, feral due to no food and all that. So they're just like walking across the place trying to catch whatever they can. They've lost their minds. They cannot think of anything. They're kind of like walkers, but they weren't bit. They just turned feral themselves. And I have to say, these monsters are wonderful because, again, they add to the more horror aspect tension that this episode has. Although, come to think of it, there's a couple of things that you might notice about these monsters. First of all, they are so Gollum rip-offs. No, I'm telling you that. I mean, think about it. They are almost unclothed, only wearing a couple of pants on their legs, and they're like crudging about all over the place, saying "hungry," spitting a few words now and again. Doesn't that kind of remind you of Gollum? In fact, you know what? I had a little imagination in my head saying, what if there was a Gollum-like character in The Walking Dead interacting with one of the characters? And to see that folded on screen, I was like, oh my goodness, my thoughts came true. So, wow. Walking Dead creators, you have been looking in my mind like Professor Xavier. The second thing you may have noticed about these monsters is that they are so ridiculously over the top when they move that they're kind of funny. I mean, they're just like crunching about all over the place, bouncing all over the place like spiders and all that. It's over the top madness horror. And again, I mean that in the best way. I mean, it dealt with over the top horror and scares, but also subtle scares as well. So this episode definitely adds to horror, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But honestly, let's talk about the main reason why I think this episode is better than the past 2 episodes that we had. This episode is always saved by one specific aspect, and that is Connie herself. Wow, Connie in this episode was marvellous. I mean, she was scared, she was brave when she had to be, but she was convincingly real in the part as well, because since she can't speak or hear, she has to try to solve some problems on her own, and you just see her struggling to survive. I can feel her frustration throughout the episode. The actress who plays her does a marvellous job in the role. I loved seeing this character back because I liked the little relationship that she had with Daryl in the 10th season. They seemed like they had really good relationship and possibly a possible romance. So to see her back again is just spectacular, and I want to see her and Daryl reunite. Hopefully she'll make a better girlfriend than Leia. And we'll get to Daryl and Leia later on in the episode. But seriously, Connie is the character who saves the whole episode, and is honestly the best thing about the episode. So basically, she's trying to get the attention of Virgil, who's been attacked by one of the Ferals, and she she's like banging on the wall because she got trapped in the wall, but Virgil manages to stab the Feral in the chest and manages to get Connie out, and there's a very heartfelt moment that adds to Connie's sincerity, even though she's not able to speak English, because she's trying to show Virgil that they don't have to leave, because Virgil helped her out of the cabins. So when we leave together. And it's just a heartfelt moment with these two characters, as Virgil desperately says that Connie has to leave him behind because he's made mistakes. I mean, we feel his pain because we saw what he did to Michonne. We saw the illusions that he put her through. So we understand why he's guilty about doing bad things, but at the same time we're telling him there's better things to do. You can redeem yourself, you can help make things better for yourself. All you have to do is come with us. And I really loved the sincerity and determined that Connie shows in the scene. That, again, adds to why she's the best aspect of the movie. So they basically try to escape the house, but the Ferals are coming after her. But then they get an idea, they lure the Ferals to the door, and they open it up, letting walkers inside the house, and they end up gobbling some of the Ferals up. Now, I was confused, like, Are they walkers or are they humans? And I'm starting to feel like that they're both. Again, I already mentioned that they're kind of like the both. I'm pretty sure that they're humans who are turned feral because zombies don't get bit by zombies. So they have to be like lost out of their mind humans. But then they finally make it out of the house and they come across our gang, Carol, Magna, Kelly, others. They find them because there was a subplot in this episode focusing on them trying to find Connie and to see Kelly and Connie reunite again. It's just so sincere to watch and so endearing. And I cannot wait to see Virgil interacting with these characters because I think that he's going to give some details about how Michonne was like worried about this guy that she knew and died. And the other characters are going to be like, oh my god, Rick might still be alive? Oh my goodness! I'm interested to see how Daryl reacts to this. And speaking of Daryl, we have the subplot focusing Daryl trying to get the jobs done with the Reapers. Because basically, they are sent off to find Maggie's group in this little town of houses. And Daryl knows which house that Maggie is in and is trying to protect her. So he gives out a signal using some using some electrical broken wire, and Maggie and Negan and Gabriel and Elijah hide in a hidden cabin underneath the floor as the Reapers judge in, and Daryl basically tries to hide Maggie until the Reapers come. But then one of the Reapers ends up saying, you know what, Daryl's duping us, he's a complete failure, he cannot follow our rules, so I'm just going to ignore him and look through the floor. But they end up managing to escape. They're out of the floor. But let's talk about one of the most out of character scenes that I've seen Daryl in this episode. And that's him torturing that one guy to reveal the location of Maggie's group. Wow! I don't think I've ever seen Daryl being this violent. I mean, yes, we see him being violent, but I never saw him being this violent because he literally, like, chops this guy's finger off, trying to force him to tell them the truth. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, Daryl, what the hell are you doing? How? Ugh, I've never seen you being like this before. I think, yeah, the Reapers are really turning Daryl into this character that's turning more to be like an antagonist. I mean, we know he's not an antagonist because we already know that he's going to betray the Reapers and return to the good side. But is Leia going to be on their good side, or is she just going to stay with the Reapers and she's going to die? Honestly, I would feel better if it was the second option because I don't want Leia and Daryl. I want Connie and Daryl because they seemed like they were getting along as a cute little... they felt like girlfriend and boyfriend in season 10, season 9. So I kind of wanted like a bunch of... I want some more scenes with them in this season, so I cannot wait to see them interacting with each other. And I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. They shouldn't be this obnoxious. They should be slower. They should be slower. Prince Albert in can. Waha, 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 waha. Knock it off. Okay. Okay, that's not... I don't know why I just did that by the way. But yeah, Pope and Daryl and Leia are coming together trying to plan something out, and that's when the episode ends. And honestly, if you were to watch the episode yourself, you would be more convinced as to why this episode is so much more awesome than I did, because I saw a YouTuber saying that it's not as good as the past few episodes, and I'm like, what? It's better than some of the past few episodes, because it's scary, it's intense, it's engaging, kept me on the edge of my seat, the scares were on point, these new threats, the ferals, are very interesting. I wonder if they're going to come back for more episodes, or are they just for this episode? Because if they are just for this episode, I'm like, but I'm like, okay, that'd be good. But if they come back in more episodes, I'll be like, okay, that'd be good as well. And, of course, the actress who plays Connie is fantastic in this episode, and I cannot wait to see more of Connie, and hopefully she'll reunite with Daryl, and Virgil will, like, give clues as to how Rick might still be alive, and how to find Michonne as well. But anyway, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment below, and